Hey everyone, Mark Marshall here from guitaristmarkmarshall.com and theproaudiofiles.com. I want to talk a little bit today about quantization with drums, and specifically over quantization with drums. Now, a lot of times when people start recording drums, they get really analytical about how in time everything is, and if every hit is right on the grid. But that's not necessarily always the correct path to go. I think when you're dealing with a lot of high-end drummers, you'll notice that their relationship to the grid may vary because they're very nuanced and sensitive to where what we call feel lays. And feel really essentially is how far you're spacing those notes apart from one another, or how close to being exactly on the grid you are. For instance, like even within one tempo, if we took something as basic as a 120 BPM, there could really be at least 3 different feels of that tempo within just that one setting, because you could either be like really on top of the beat or behind the beat or exactly on the beat, and that's going to affect the way that the song is being presented. And it is different than just, say, setting the metronome to just a higher or a lower setting. Now, if you have to fix drum tracks, it's really good to be aware of this, because you're going to want to move things around that creates a natural feel to the song that you're working on. I created a drum loop here that I'm going to play, and you're going to hear what would be a bass drum and a loop and some shaker, but this one would be with the drums quantized exactly on the grid. Let's take a listen. This next example, I put the bass drum a little behind the grid, meaning it's just ever so slightly late. And this isn't out of time, it just slightly shifts the feel to either be bright or a little bit more laid back. This version is a little ahead of the beat, so it should feel more anticipated, a little bit more urgency to it. You take the click track out. Let's listen to the first version again. Second version. Third version. Let's look at how much of a difference we're talking about with the grid. Here's a good example. We can see that if I'm placing this on the grid, which is right there, we see the first example is pretty much just about right on. That's pretty close to where I'd place it if I was trying to make it really exact. The part that's just a little behind the beat, you see, we're talking about like small amounts here, but the small amounts overall for a whole track make a big difference. And you see the one that's a little anticipated, just a little bit before. A good way to think about this is each of these options kind of evokes a different mood, right? So the one that's perfectly on the grid is going to be very even. The one that's late is just going to feel a little heavier, and it's always going to be pulling back, so it just feels like it has a lot of weight to it. And the one that is a little ahead of the beat, it's got some urgency to it, right? It's always going to be kind of pushing forward, like you can't wait for the next beat to happen. And you think about this in a production, you could use this to your advantage. Like, where is the content of the music? What's the lyrics like? Is the song supposed to be really heavy and kind of making you pull you down with the feeling, or is it supposed to be making you just jump and kind of can't wait to get into the next beat? If you think about this, you could really use this to your advantage in productions. Music is emotion, and these subtle changes can help evoke different emotions from the songs. For instance, when it's perfectly quantized, it's going to be the most in the middle. But if you have a song that you're looking to kind of make people feel like it's pulling back a little bit, and it's kind of heavy and tugging at you, that would be the one where you quantize it a little bit late. If you want it to be like really ramped up and a little bit hyper, playing or quantizing your things so that they're just a little bit ahead of the beat can really help push those emotions through the production.